Welcome everyone to a new episode of Rehashing the podcast, where each week we rehash the top entertainment news stories and all the Bachelor Nation news you may have missed during the week. Welcome everyone.
Hey!
How's everyone doing?
Doing well. Mercury clearly still in retrograde because Sam's internet cannot figure itself out.
Just can't. It can't get its shit together. I don't know what it is, but I thought we were going to be okay. I thought we were more like settled into the retrograde at this point. But listen, it is what it is. We're keeping our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And
I'm trying to recover from my Bachelor hangover from last night. Well, actually, I guess it's from this morning, from last night's episode.
And it's funny that you say that, actually, because I feel like today is like the Bachelor hangover day, like it always is. And yesterday was like the Super Bowl hangover day, which brings me to our first, I guess, story, you could call it. But we just wanted to talk about the pop culture and the celeb sightings at the Super Bowl, because let's be honest, we are not here to talk about sports. We're here to talk about everything else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I didn't watch, so
I just watched the halftime show.
yeah.
Okay, well, at least you can contribute there, so that'll be good. But everything else, I guess, once again, it'll be Lianna and I talking about music.
I YouTubed some of the commercials, so I can contribute there too.
I will say though, actually, because I didn't really see obviously, because like I'm on Canadian TV, I didn't really see the commercials, but I heard that a lot of companies, instead of paying for commercials, they donated the money that they would have used to COVID relief funds, which I
like that.
I don't think it was a COVID relief fund. It was like a campaign for like vaccinations.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like to encourage people to like get vaccinated. Either way, it went towards like Pepsi didn't make a commercial this year. They donated their money. Which we can bring that up once we get to the halftime show part, because I have thoughts on that. But yeah. So yeah.
I didn't bother with the show. I'm really sorry, guys. I'll still contribute as much as I can.
Okay.
With the show, I mean the game.
The game. I feel like it kind of was a show. Like I feel like we've been lacking so many like live concerts and all these things.
Well, yeah.
So, you know, even though it wasn't like the most entertaining thing in the world, I still thought it was a good show. So like it started with her name is Her, singing America the Beautiful.
Yeah.
Ooh.
She's such a vibe.
She's so good. I love her very chill, calm demeanor.
Yeah,
I love
her. And then there was the anthem that I like.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's like a popular opinion or not.
I thought it was an interesting pairing. It was Eric Church and Jasmine Sullivan. So they wanted to like combine the R&B and the country, I guess. I thought she was incredible. He's always good. I found it like an interesting pairing.
Yeah. It was different. It was so long. I feel for all those people that bet like the under on how long the anthem would be, because they went so long.
That's a thing.
It was so long.
Yeah, you could bet on anything with the Super Bowl. You could bet on the color of the Gatorade being poured on the coach. You could do like literally the most absurd bets.
Is it not a standard color of Gatorade?
No, it's like blue, orange, red,
yellow.
Red.
So how do they decide which flavor of Gatorade?
That's the equipment guy, the equipment manager just like decides, but people bet on what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
My mind is kind of blown. That's pretty cool.
You bet on
Maybe
anything.
you
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
this is why you should watch. We have a lot to say about the weekend. I feel a bit
I was just surprised that it was him. Like he's not really a performer, I would feel.
Okay. So here's my thing about the weekend. Originally, when he was announced, I kind of was a little disappointed. But then after I watched the performance and I did some research, I don't disagree with them selecting him. I think the issue was that it's not common that there's a solo performance for the Super Bowl halftime show. Like there's usually guests, people like bring people out, or it's multiple people performing. It's not just like one person. And I thought at the beginning, like months ago when he was announced, I was like, oh, he hasn't been around long enough. He doesn't really have like the selection of songs, but I think he actually wasn't terrible. I know, Sam, you had mentioned in our group chat the other day that like the radio person, but like that's also the type of performer that they need, someone that appeals to everyone, right? Not just like Americans, because like
I just think that like they needed somebody that was like a bit more iconic. Like to me, the Super Bowl halftime show is like when I think about it, I think of like the icons, like Beyonce, Justin Timberlake,
Britney Spears,
Lady Gaga. Like, I don't know, these Britney Spears, like these people are like real like entertainers. And I just find that The Weeknd, his music is great and people love him, but he's just a little bit more of like a slow vibe. He's not as like,
he's not a
wow
dynamic.
factor.
Yeah, he's not like a dynamic performer, which is why I found it so interesting. And I guess this is kind of why it happened. So I didn't know this. I learned this like literally over the weekend, but the NFL doesn't pay for the Super Bowl halftime acts.
No.
They basically give them like an allowance of anywhere between, I think it's $8 and $12 million to use on the production value. So like to build your stage, to pay your dancers, to pay your makeup people, to pay your hair people, your choreograph, whatever, pay everyone who needs to be there to do it. And The Weeknd, knowing that this is like the biggest stage in the world, he put $7 million of his own dollars into the show. So I was expecting it to be like actually wowing, and the stage production part of it was crazy with the inside and the outside and it being so many floors. But again, like his music doesn't span generations. I don't find that like he's somebody that my grandma knows, or like even like my mom knows because she listens and drives to like Sirius XM or Virgin Radio or whatever. But it's not like he's this like big guy with a huge catalog of music.
Yeah,
he's someone who shouldn't have been like a solo performer. But to what you just said about how like they don't get paid, they get an allowance, I'm pretty sure it's Pepsi that gives, right? Like Pepsi's the one that pays, not the NFL.
Oh, okay.
And so this year Pepsi they didn't have a commercial because that money, along with a bunch of other companies that normally have Super Bowl commercials, they put that money towards like COVID awareness funds or whatever. It didn't go towards the Super Bowl. So I think in my gut, I feel like Pepsi didn't maybe give as much money as they usually do. They gave enough that they can still hold the title as like the Pepsi Super Bowl halftime show, but like not enough that it could be like the performance it deserves. And like, that's why he had to put so much money in. And that's why it was kind of like lackluster.
Okay. But my question is, so Lianna/Alanna, you both said that they get money. So that's, let's say they gave $7 million. Then he added his own $7 million. It was $14 million for a show.
Who knows? Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
This is like the biggest televised event like in the world.
Yeah. Like when people perform at the Super Bowl, I think that they know that it's going to be the biggest show and they do whatever they can to like take advantage of it. They release an album the day before. They
which he did. The Weeknd released like the greatest hits album on Friday.
Yeah. Oh, and then he announced a tour. Apparently he announced like it's
a
COVID.
Tour.
I don't know.
You're not going on tour.
No, but
the pandemic.
Yeah. But for after.
The biggest missed opportunity I found was when he got on the fields and started doing blinding lights. How they didn't have TikTok kids come out and do the viral dance makes no sense to me. Like they couldn't get another performer. I get it. But how they didn't get like Charlie and Dixie and like Addison and all those kids to come and do the blinding lights dance. Like that would have been such a shareable, memeable.
I would have watched.
Yeah, no, like it's just crazy to me. That was
Charlie performed last year with J-Lo, or she met J-Lo.
Yeah, before.
Yeah, there was like a whole thing with that. But I agree with you because then I think if they had done that, then it really would have connected to like the younger generation.
I strongly disagree. I think performing at the Super Bowl halftime show is a very prestigious honor that, Addison Rae doesn't deserve. And neither does Charlie D'Amelio, neither does Dixie. Like I'm sorry, no.
No, like, I get that, but they're not like of that caliber talent worthy. But it wouldn't have taken away from The Weeknd's performance. I think that at the beginning, when all of those masked men walked down the field, I think it would have been hilarious if those TikTok stars for those 2 minutes did the
No, I think if anything,
a marketing opportunity for TikTok.
They could have shown,
but it's not TikTok's opportunity to do marketing. It's Pepsi. So I think it would have been very controversial because like, again, it's very prestigious and not everyone gets the chance to do it. And like all of a sudden these kids that blew up on the internet get to be in it. No, you get The Weeknd's dancers to do the viral TikTok dance.
I think they should have shown all of the classroom Zooms that had like that pranked their teachers with blinding lights where they all start like dancing in unison. Yeah. Oh, Alanna, where have you been?
Oh my God.
I don't have TikTok. I don't like TikTok.
It's sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found that his performance was like overall really a strong performance. I just don't find him like a dynamic entertainer and somebody that you like look back on and are like wowed by a performance, you know?
I agree. I heard a bunch of people say like, you know, when he went in like that maze with all the mirrors and stuff.
Yeah, the fun house.
Everybody
nauseous.
Everybody was saying like that he literally did that just to be a meme. Like he literally like went in there because all the memes after the Super Bowl were of him in the thing. Like, oh, this is me when I'm too drunk. Oh, this is me when I can't get out of bed in the morning. Oh, like literally like all the memes were him in the fun house. Like that's just what it was.
That meme was a huge one. And the other one was also those guys that were on the fields wearing the masks, like all the bandages. They were like, these are the most like masks we've seen in Florida since COVID. I was like, that's epic too.
That's
very
epic.
funny.
Wow.
I saw on TikTok all of the celebrations in Tampa, and it was insane. They were burning masks.
No, it's not normal. It's not normal.
It's not normal.
I laughed.
It's not normal.
Yeah. Who do we think, if it shouldn't have been The Weeknd, or if it were to be someone else, who should it have been?
Okay, like I have my 2 answers.
Okay, everyone's gonna get a chance. Lianna, you go first.
Okay, in my dream, my first number 1 choice, which like I know a lot of you are going to disagree with, I think it should have been Taylor Swift, but that's just like my opinion. My other actual opinion that I think would have been amazing is Justin Bieber with Chance the Rapper.
Yes, that's a very, very good. I thought Justin Bieber, but I was like, no, it's not his time. He's not ready. But with Chance the Rapper, that would have been a perfect, iconic, or Chance the Rapper. You could have brought out Usher. You could bring out Drake. Like there were so many opportunities that were missed there. I 100% agree with that. Taylor Swift, I think there's a little issue there because she can't really like perform her old songs without Scooter Braun getting money.
I think, okay, on the terms, I think she's like re-releasing her new music. I think Love Story's coming out this week for Valentine's Day. So I think it's being expedited, but yeah, I agree. She right now can't really.
Right, like I think it would have been like a little, the idea is to not put money in like Scooter Braun and Scott Borchetta's pockets.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was her time.
I do wholeheartedly believe and concur about Justin Bieber.
Me too. I think that
his time is coming soon. And I think again, like if he brought out Chance, there's so many people he could bring out with him. It would have been really
I feel like
Pepsi NFL get on that next year.
I think Shawn Mendes would kill it too.
It's not his time. I don't think he's still too young and like he's not ready.
He doesn't have his big repertoire yet. Like you need that like big collection of songs that everyone knows. Like I feel like he's beginning middle phases of that. Like I think he needs another few years.
Justin Bieber started like in what 2009 2010 like
earlier.
We were 2007.
One Time came out, I want to say in like 2009.
You're gonna laugh, I was just gonna say Shawn Mendes can't do it, he's Canadian, but like Justin Bieber's Canadian.
The Weeknd is Canadian, Adina.
So was The Weeknd.
You can be Canadian and do the Super Bowl halftime show.
The Weeknd is like one of 3 Canadian artists to ever have performed the halftime show. Canadians are allowed to perform at the halftime show. That's
good to know.
Fact. I'm trying to think like who else I would really want. Like I feel like my big entertainers have all kind of like done it. I don't know. I can't.
Pink would have done an amazing job, right? Because she does like the acrobats and stuff like that, and she has the catalog and like she spans multiple generations. I think she could have done an amazing job, as well as. Sorry, go.
No, I was gonna say I would just also die for Ariana Grande, but I'm like
it's not her time yet.
Obsessed with her.
But Lianna, I was
do it one day, but not yet.
I was gonna say her for the anthem. I feel like she would have killed the anthem.
Yeah,
she would have been so good.
Yeah,
I love her.
Me too. She will do it one day, though.
I think so too.
I think Miley's also someone who could have done a great performance, but maybe it's not her time yet.
Yeah, she's still like tiptoeing in and out of that like.
Trying to find herself still.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like it's not her time yet, but I do think she would put on a great halftime performance.
Yeah.
Speaking of football stars, there's some other news in the football world. So Aaron Rodgers, I think it's Aaron, but we'll say Aaron for all intents and purposes, who is the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, won MVP this week. And in his MVP speech, just happened to slip it in there that he is 1, engaged, and 2, has a fiance. So the internet obviously went wild and figured out that he is engaged to Shailene Woodley, who like we know from so many different movies and TV shows. Like I remember her obviously from The American Life. What's it called? The
Secret Life of the American Teenager.
Yes.
My fave.
The Fault in Our Stars.
Big Little Lies.
Now, Big Little Lies, obviously. So they're engaged. I heard that they're like looking at property in Hawaii, which like must be nice.
Was he ever married before?
No, but he was dated. No, he dated Olivia Munn for a while. And he dated Danica Patrick for a while.
I just feel like, is Aaron Rodgers like football news or is it Bachelor news? You know?
Oh my God.
His brother Jordan. Estranged brother Jordan, right? They don't talk.
Yeah,
they don't have a relationship.
They don't talk. Yeah.
Because now Shailene Woodley is now going to be JoJo Fletcher's sister-in-law. So that's exciting.
It always comes back to The Bachelor.
Like,
always.
Somehow, some way.
One way or another. Well, muzzle tub to them. I feel like we've been doing these like weekly muzzle tubs. So this week it's a muzzle tub to them.
Yeah.
And on the complete opposite of that, muzzle tub is not in order for
Morgan Wallen. Last week, he was caught saying not so suitable language. He got home from a night out. He was intoxicated, hurled an inappropriate word to his friend. And the neighbor obviously heard because they were being rowdy and it got out. TMZ reported it the next morning. He gave a half-ass apology that just, with everything that happened last year and just being in the year 2021, that like, you can't just say something like that and apologize for it. So
yeah,
he got dropped from his labels. He's getting, I'm pretty sure like streaming platforms are not like advertising his music right now. And he just came out with a very good album. Yeah, and it's going to take him a while to recover.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like there's never an excuse whether you're intoxicated or sober to say that word. But the craziest part is that it like so freely fell off his lips. Like it didn't look like he was like trying to think of a word. Like he just said it as if it's like part of his vocabulary, which is the most disgusting part.
Yeah, which is why like his apology was so half-assed, because it's like he apologized because he knew he had to apologize, but he doesn't understand like the ramifications of his actions,
which is insane.
The problem is that I find singers and athletes, they don't really usually like bear the consequences of like their actions usually, compared to I guess like influencers and like all the new age celebrities, because like no matter what like songs are out there, like people are going to listen to them. And like even like if we just look at Chris Brown, like nothing happened to him all those years ago, like he's performing and all these things, like I just find like nothing ever really happens to
Chris Brown never fully recovered from that. Like he could have blown up to be so much bigger than he was.
I used to love him.
He still does okay, but he could have really gone so much farther than he could have performed at the Super Bowl halftime show if that didn't happen, right?
Yes.
I also want to say about Morgan Wallen, I want to say like I don't feel bad for the guy. Like his music, the album that he came out with, like I love. Like don't get me wrong, I think there's a couple of songs that are amazing. I downloaded the whole thing, but he kind of showed his true colors during the pandemic. Remember, he was supposed to perform on Saturday Night Live. And something happened. Like he was out partying and like he wasn't respecting his quarantine of Saturday Night Live. And this was like really like in the pandemic, like when it was really, really bad. And they kicked him off from Saturday Night Live. And I just feel like he came off as this like really immature like kid who just didn't know what he was doing, doesn't care. Like maybe fame kind of like fell into his lap. And I liked what a lot of the country music stars were kind of tweeting. Like I saw Kelsey Ballerini and Maren Moore. Like they were all saying like, this is not what country music stands for, and country music is very like serious about like, they take their music very seriously. They're all very passionate. They're very appreciative and all that. And I find that like, he just doesn't appreciate it,
I also think that like in 2021, there's just this new understanding, like this innate understanding of like accountability and like owning up to what you're doing and that nothing is going to fly anymore. And like back to the Chris Brown comment, like I think if that Chris Brown situation came to light now, it would be a whole other situation. Like I just don't think that there's any room, any space for forgiveness in this situation with Morgan Wallen. Like he said what he said. There's no excuse, there's no explanation, there's no I'm sorry, I'll be better. Like that's great, but like you've shown your cards, you've shown your colors, and there's just no space in the entertainment industry, in the music industry, and country music for that.
Like
there's better people. Yeah. There's better performers. There's better singers. Like if he's not worth it.
Totally.
Was he dropped?
I think so.
He was dropped from his label. he was dropped from like all radio stations put out a statement being like, we are not playing Morgan Wallen again for the foreseeable future. And his own record label that released his album 2 weeks ago dropped him.
Yeah. Necessary,
no,
honestly.
not valuable to them.
But it's just like, again, it comes back to the apology. Like when you look at like, let's say Hannah Brown, she's saying it the same word in a song. And she like took the time to educate herself and all these types of things. And like whether people chose to forgive her or not, it's just, I feel like if you're just going to throw out an apology like that, and he didn't really seem remorseful. And I think that's the most important thing. And like, it was not it.
Even somewhere on the internet, his sister made a statement being like, we need to forgive like people for their mistakes or whatever. It's like, this is so much more than just a mistake.
Yeah, I think it all just comes back to the fact that like we're living in a really woke time right now, and like saying you're sorry and that you didn't know better is no longer an excuse.
Yeah,
it's just not.
Great.
Yeah. But to shift gears briefly, something also sad, which is like not the vibe we want, but it's a thing. Britney Spears. New documentary came out. She's not actually directly affiliated with it, but a documentary came out this week called Framing Britney Spears. Came out on Hulu and on FX Now. To this date, still trying to find a source for all of you Canadians out there. I found like an illegal, dodgy little sidebar thing on the internet to watch it. I'm waiting for some sort of news on like how Canadians can watch this properly. But basically, there's not so much new information there. The documentary just talks about Britney Spears and the whole issue now with her dad being her conservator. So essentially when she had her breakdown in 2008 that everyone knows, when she shaved her head and took the umbrella to the paparazzi car and all that, her dad basically went to court and was like, Britney's not mentally well. She can't handle her finances. She can't handle herself. We need to basically put all of the power and control of her $60 million estate into my hands. And now it's been like 10 years. And Britney's kind of trying to fight for her power back. And she basically went to court and asked for the court to give her father less power, not take the whole power away, but basically share responsibility with the bank. And basically the court was like, okay, fine, but they gave her father more power than she wanted. So this documentary basically just talks about like that whole battle and struggle, her rise to fame. They try to like bash Justin Timberlake and say that like him releasing Cry Me a River was like what tailspinned all of her bad press, because it painted her in this like bad light as like a whore and like a cheater, even though like we don't really know what the real story is. But the best part of this whole entire documentary, and then we could talk about Britney and her career because it's just wild, but the best part and the craziest part of this documentary that like threw me into a rabbit hole is this whole pandemic. Britney's been, and even longer than that, Britney's been posting crazy things on Instagram.
Yes.
Like, weird, bizarre videos, right? And like Sam, even you sent me that TikTok. What was it again? What was she doing? She was like dancing, and then people were like, Britney, like in your next video, if
wear a yellow shirt if you're in trouble, and she wore a yellow shirt.
Yeah.
Because people have been really concerned about her. And I'm not going to lie, I've had a really hard time keeping up with it. Like, I don't understand what's going on. I can't understand like how this documentary was made with all these people that are close to her, like without her like knowing about it, or like, I can't understand, like, I just don't understand any of it. And then like this thing with the yellow shirt, like I thought it was a joke at first.
Yeah.
Like, I actually thought it was a joke. Like people were like, Britney, free Britney, like wear pink, wear yellow if you need to be free.
Wear a hat.
Yeah.
And then she did it. And then like, I don't want to laugh, but like,
it's crazy. No, so this is the rabbit hole I went down that like you need to look into after, because your mind will be blown. But basically, people were saying to her, like, you're being held at your own will. We know this because you're posting pictures of you wearing the same outfit multiple days in a row. Why would you wear the same thing? And she basically went on Instagram and was like, guys, I'm doing a project. I can't tell you about it. It's called Project Rose. Yes. But one day this will make sense. So everyone's like, hey, what's Project Rose? And everyone's trying to figure out what Project Rose is. Is this her calling out for help? Is Project Rose her being like, help me? People didn't know. This is what's so freaking fricked about the documentary. During every scene of like a confessional interview between somebody and the camera, so like whether it's Britney's lawyers, whether it's her previous manager, whether it's her previous assistant, anyone, there's a rose wall behind them. And at the very end of the documentary, Britney is in a bath. It's just her legs. It's like she's filming it on her phone. She's in a bath with a soap, like a piece of soap that's in the shape of a rose. And she puts it in the water and she goes, it's a rose. And she starts going like this, and the rose starts melting. And she goes, just kidding. Things aren't always what they seem. It's just soap. And that's how the documentary ends.
It's just like, I don't understand. It's like all these conspiracy theories.
Okay, but so now everyone is like, Britney was involved in this documentary 100%. This is her call for help. The New York Times is colluding with her. They're working with her, but they can't announce it. It's this whole new thing now that's opening a whole crazy psycho ass can of worms. And like people literally think Britney is being held against her will. And the crazy, like, there's just so many crazy things. Because if you're in a conservatorship, it's supposed to be that like you can't manage your own affairs. And they legally changed the jargon in her document to say that she's high functioning. But like you can't be high functioning if you need a conservator.
Yeah, this whole thing is like really freaking me out. I'm not gonna lie. Like yeah. I can't keep up. You need to, everyone just needs to watch the documentary.
Well,
because, like,
I watched
Free Britney.
I watched a lot of like TikToks and stories about it during the summer when like it was really going on. And like the most alarming thing that I found about the whole situation was that like during the time where the dad deemed her to be unwell, she was doing a Las Vegas residency and she released all these albums, and like it just shows like she's unwell to handle money, but like she could get on stage every night of the week. Like what are they pumping her with? Like that was just where my mind went.
But I just don't understand how, like, you know, we keep talking about like how it's 2021 and like things aren't okay anymore, and like there's so many things that are just like shouldn't be reacted to now in the same way that maybe they would have been like 10 or 20 years ago. So why, like, where's Jamie Lynn? Where's Britney's mom? Like, why isn't somebody, like, I'm getting really heated. Like, why isn't somebody trying to do something about this? Or maybe they are, and like, you know, what you see isn't always what you get. Like maybe we don't actually know, but there's something missing.
Where's Chris Crocker?
Dying. Chris Crocker.
Well, her boyfriend posted something on Instagram, right? Literally calling Jamie Spears a dick. Like
the dad, Jamie Spears, the dad, not the sister,
not Jamie Lynn.
That's Jamie Lynn. Wasn't Jamie Lynn? Isn't it the dad named Jamie? The mom's named Lynn, and then together they made a child and named it Jamie Lynn.
Yes.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Anyway, it's really scary. All of these fans are now like really petitioning for her to have her freedom. That's why like hashtag Free Britney is everywhere. All these celebrities are now like standing up with Britney. Like Miley did this pre-concert before the Super Bowl in Florida, and she was like, "Britney, we love you. We stand with you." Like everyone is now like making it this political statement. It's blowing up. But I just really think everyone should watch the documentary because it's just crazy, and this is all happening like right under our noses.
I want a Free Britney bumper sticker
for your car.
You could get it at the Kardashian store in Las Vegas.
I was just gonna say you should.
You know what? At the time, I didn't have a car, so at the time they didn't have. I didn't have a car, so I didn't buy the bumper sticker. But they did have one at the Kardashian store that said "Honk if you keep up with Kardashian."
I'm sure they did. I
wanted to buy one. I didn't.
Oh my god!
In other pop culture show news, former Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Lisa Vanderpump, aka Bobby Fischer, inside joke for those of you who watched, just announced that she's getting a new show called Overserved with Lisa Vanderpump. She will be hosting celebrity guests at one of her restaurants, Villa Rosa Garden, I believe. And I'm sure it'll be amazing because Vanderpump Rules is amazing. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is
Villa Rosa is her house.
Well, Villa Rosa Garden just opened. You watched Vanderpump Rules. It was in the last season.
I did not.
So I'm super excited because I think she's like the most dramatic of all the housewives. Well, not of that of that
no, I agree.
Franchise, yes.
I agree. She was like,
am I the only one who never watched any of the Vanderpump? No. You don't either, right, Lianna? Okay, so
let's Vanderpump, no housewives. Like
me too.
So what a divide.
The scandalous part of the whole story is that Lisa, obviously former housewife, part of Bravo, has this new show on E.
Yes.
So it's pretty much like, I'd say Bravo and E are two competing networks. And shit hit the fan with Lisa on her last season of Beverly Hills. She didn't even show up for the reunion, which is like a huge scandal in and of itself.
I mean, I will 100% be watching. I'll let you guys know if there's anything juicy. But good luck.
You'll keep us in the loop. Us in the loop. Well, speaking of reality,
here I go. It's time for Bachelor Nation recaps. And a lot happened over the weekend that we must discuss. Super Bowl, always a big Bachelor scene. They all fly out there because they have their new connections, whatever. There was a celebrity flag football tournament. They qualified as celebrities to play in this celebrity tournament. There was Peter Weber. There was Jason Tardik. There was Blake, I don't know his last name.
Horseman.
And the best part about it all is that Kelly and Peter reunited. I can't even say this without getting all giddy.
I can't.
So it came out the next day that there were pictures and videos of the two of them at a non-COVID safe party. But that's besides the point. And yeah, we're excited.
Speak for yourself.
I'm excited. I'm excited that they are rekindling their romance. Maybe even though she can do so much better, I just love them.
I could not care less about Kelly and Peter, but I find it interesting, just to go on what you said before, Alanna, about how like the fact that these people are like celebrities enough and are like given this whole like segment thing.
I didn't recognize any of the other celebrities besides the three of them. So I don't know like what kind of celebrity tournament it is, but
like C-list.
What caliber of fame?
C is still pretty high.
They were just happy to be at the Super Bowl.
But the one story we should have discussed last week that we didn't discuss was that originally this upcoming season of The Bachelor, it was actually supposed to be filmed in Canada, in Jasper, Alberta. But now that there's all these extra guidelines and rules in place, I think they had to cancel it and they can't come here to do it, even though the only thing added was the quarantine at a hotel. And they they like booked up an entire hotel. Like they were already at the hotel. Like, what's the issue? So,
I feel like part of it may have been because I did see some articles that were saying like, because they were supposed to film in Jasper, right? In Alberta. And a lot of people were saying like, they can't go there like midwinter, like it's freezing. Like, how are they going to do anything? Like, it's not like Montreal winters. Like, apparently it's way worse there. So maybe that was part of the decision. And then maybe they blamed it on COVID. I don't know. But
I'm pretty sure it was. I know. I think maybe it was weather, but I'm pretty sure it was about the travel ban and like working restrictions. And I think there's also certain laws. I could be wrong, but I think there's certain laws that if you film something in Canada, a certain percentage of your crew needs to be Canadian. So I think there was something with that. Also, like
ultimately, I feel like it was just probably too complicated, and they decided just to like.
It would have been fun. It would have been fun.
Would have been
awesome. We would have went.
No, we wouldn't, because Jasper's far.
I would have gone. I would have fucking got on the plane.
If you mentioned Corona one more time, Alanna,
I'm not. People tell me I talk about the pandemic way too much.
You talk about it more than anyone that I know. For someone who like, hates it, you talk about it a lot. It would have been a great opportunity to have the show filmed in Canada. I would have been there knocking on the door, asking for Chris Harrison in like -50 weather. Wouldn't have stopped me.
You have pulled up in a white minivan like Heather Martin did 100%. Last night.
Even though it would have been like The Bachelorette that's filming there.
Okay. Well, speaking of Heather Martin, I feel like now's the time to dive right into the episode. We are on this like weird 2-on-1 with MJ and Jasenia, and Matt finally,
took out the rest of the trash.
Yeah. No, there's still some trash left, but he took out.
Serena C is recycling. She's nothing. She's nothing special. She's compostable. Like. Guys, let's not hate on the women. I take back my comment, but no, MJ needed to go.
MJ needed to go. She was super mean. She was so manipulative.
Like, way she sat down and like literally just lied to Matt's face.
It was just like her vibe. Like, I find the rest of the girls, like, they play very innocent and like all those types of cards. But like her, she's like was really just a mean girl. Like, she's not nice.
The best part of that entire scene, and then we can move on from it because there's literally nothing else to say, is when Jasenia was trying to get her to shut up, and she was like, Marilyn, instead
Meredith.
of Meredith. Oh, Meredith. Regardless, epic. When she called her by her full name, trying to be like a little condescending, like, send you to your room. Like, I lived for that.
I know.
Yeah. I think all of our jaws were like, wait, Meredith? Like, that's her name? Like,
who's she?
After the 2-on-1, we had the rose ceremony. The people who got eliminated were Britney, who I didn't think was going to be going home.
Ryan,
and
Maggie.
Which very predictable group of people. Like, they were the most irrelevant.
They were the most irrelevant. I don't know why Ryan was like having a panic attack. Like, she literally never spoke to Matt. Like, I don't know.
Maybe that's why.
Well, that's just it. Like, we've never seen any of these relationships. Like, who knows what type of relationship she did have with Matt.
It comes back to what we said last week about how they're showing literally 5 to 7% of every single date. Like, you see a literal tiny decimal fraction of what's actually happening.
I just Piper, she didn't get a full date. Piper didn't get a full date. She only got a nighttime portion of the date.
Yeah, at the fair. It was a cute date at the fair.
Piper got a full date. They went to the carnival and then she had dinner.
But that was
it was a night though.
But it was
but
all
still,
night.
it's still like a full day. Like Piper.
I just don't, again, feel emotionally invested with her because I don't see anything between them.
I don't not like her. I think she's actually really pretty. I think seems really cute. I find her young. She's only 23, but I don't have anything that I don't like about her. I just, again, like you said, Lianna, I don't feel emotionally invested in her at all.
She's just not bottom 5 material, and that's just what it is.
Top five.
Wait, I thought I said top, but I guess I don't know what I say.
So on Piper's evening portion of the date, I just wanted to bring this up quickly before we move on, because I said it last night to you guys. I feel like it was just another date of like, I don't want to say like a made up story, but something that like was kind of just like she had to say something.
Because when you go on the one-on-one date, they like kind of force you to like bear it all or like give some emotional anecdote about your past. And like Piper just kind of said she grew up in a house where her mother and father and family basically didn't verbally say I love you and like give that kind of verbal affirmation. And she just felt that like it really like affects her now as an adult, and then like how she views relationships and what's important to her in relationships. And like, yes, 100%, like your love language is very, very important. But like, the way they edited it made it seem like that was like a sob story compared to like Sarah's sob story about her father, who was like very much suffering with MS. And it's like, those are two completely different things.
Like that's how people who want to get a strong connection fast, like form a connection, is like bringing down your walls and letting yourself be vulnerable around someone. So I do understand why they have to bring out those stories from like a relationship standpoint and a production standpoint. But my issue with her story is that I don't think that we got the full story. I think like there's more to it than just like her family not giving words of affirmation to each other, as like that's something that's important to her. I think there's more to it that she didn't share with Matt, and that we'll never get to see.
And that's what bothered me. Like, it's not that there was nothing wrong with what she said. Like, everybody has their feelings and everybody has things that happen in their life that affect how they like give love and show love. But it's the fact that, again, we're not seeing the full picture. So it's very hard. Like, she was so emotional. Like, I wish I could have been emotional, but I just didn't know where it was coming from. So it was hard to connect, you know?
No context.
Yeah, no context. Right. Exactly.
And I don't think that was production's fault. I think that was just like, she didn't tell us.
Yeah. So next up, we have a group date where all the girls went to meet Matt at a bowling alley, or a made-up bowling alley in McGowan, for that matter. Yeah. And the date was super uneventful. I don't know what you guys thought. The only part that I was actually kind of annoyed about is I feel like all these group dates are just constant competitions. Like, when are we ever going to get to the point where it's just like a normal group date? And at this point, like, there weren't 20 girls on the group date. Like, there was only 8 or 9 of them. So there was no reason for Matt to like, or for the producers to make it like whoever wins the bowling gets to go spend more time with Matt. Like, it's a group date. They should all be going to spend more time with Matt, you know? And in classic Bachelor dramatics, like, they send half the girls back to the Bachelor mansion, and then 2 minutes later, they get a note from Matt saying, "Come back. I feel really bad that I let you all go." Like, we didn't see anything. Like, he handed out a rose before we had seen anything. So
who got the rose?
Michelle.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, Katie is next up for her one-on-one. She was the only person that wasn't on the list for the group date. And before we go into Katie's date, I want to talk about the Serena-C of it all, because I really feel like you said it really well before. Like, she's like the compost, like the recycling, like the garbage that nobody like cares about as much, right? Like, that's what she is. And she is just so irrelevant. Like, the fact that she is coming after Katie is so frustrating. Like, okay, we all get it. Like, Katie is great, but she's the friend. Like, she's the friend of the season. Like, yeah, we all get it. Like, it does come to a point where it's like, okay, you don't want to see the friend anymore, even though we really do like her. But it was just super unnecessary for Serena-C to like pick up fight with her for literally no reason. It was the stupidest thing.
This is what it comes back to, and like just reminding me of what we talked about last week, how like Dylan said that they reward the contestants that act crazy with screen time. And Serena knew she was going home. She has no connection with him. She's getting no time with him. She's not getting a one-on-one. She's only getting group dates. She knew that this is the end for her. So if she starts crap with the other insignificant girl, she's going to get screen time. So it was strategic. It's just was like her really badly wanting to get a little angle. I'm like, it's so dumb. And like, we're the stupid idiots that are falling for it and talking about her.
I guess so. Like, I kept thinking like she doesn't have a leg to stand on. Like, she's saying like such useless
stupidity.
That's like, we couldn't even, at least I couldn't even like watch her because she like, her arguments didn't even make sense.
It made no sense.
Katie couldn't even argue with her because like it was like arguing with crazy.
And even at that point,
that's what she said,
right? She did say that. Like you're not going to get anywhere with crazy.
Yeah. And even at that point, after Serena approached Katie, and then after Serena went back to the girls and started like talking about it, like I almost feel like the girls like didn't care, and she had nothing to say, Serena. And then when Katie walked back in, like. Even Kit in her confessional was like, I can't believe Serena's starting drama right now with Katie. Like they clearly all don't care. I thought the date was really funny. It was entertaining.
It was funny, but it was just really revolved around Tyler. And it was so funny that Matt, like his face, like his demeanor changed, like after Tyler came, like he was just like a new Matt.
Yeah.
I think Katie was like the perfect girl for that date.
I agree.
I agree.
I'm a big Katie fan. I think she's so like such good energy, and she's like mature, and she knows what she wants. And like, obviously we'll get into this now, but like she didn't get the one-on-one date rose. Like she was sent home, and it was obvious that they didn't have a romantic connection. But I just felt that they really very much groomed her properly, like in her exit interview, the way she was saying like, I'm still hopeful I'm going to find love. My person's out there. I just find that they were like setting her up big time for another Bachelor show, whether it's like a Bachelorette like role or a Bachelor in Paradise role. Like, I just think that she's somebody they're going to hold on to because she's just good vibes and mature. And like, we love sex positive women.
Like eventually the friend always does go.
I think we had a lot of Katie airtime that like she was involved in all the drama, but from the right side of it. That like they didn't need her to stay around anymore, and Matt didn't have that connection with her, so it was time for her to go. And like now's the chance for someone like Abigail, who from night one we all thought if she doesn't win, she's gonna go, she'll be the Bachelorette maybe. And I think like now's that chance to see like of the front runners who else could have that potential, because right now mid-season like Katie has Bachelorette potential, but like she didn't make it all the way to the end.
And this is something else that I want to bring up. Like, it really bothered me that when she was telling him, like, how she felt about him at the end of the date, he like picked up the rose and almost like teased her with it. Like, I would have much preferred, like, I don't know what producer told him to do that. That, in my opinion, does not make good TV. That makes him look like an ass. He should not have picked up the rose and been like, I'm sorry, Katie, I can't give this to you. Like, just out of respect for Katie. Like, she, like I didn't like that at all.
I feel like they've done that before.
Yeah, I think they have. It's a stupid TV move.
It's terrible. It's actually terrible. Anyway, all the best to Katie. We'll see what happens with her, whether she ends up on Paradise or The Bachelorette. Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We'll see her again.
We'll definitely.
And then that brings us to rose ceremony, right?
I think the only important part of that was that Heather had shown up that day in the minivan and did her quarantine with the pizza box and like just wasted our airtime.
The whole thing was very cringeworthy, in my opinion. Her and like everything about her and her entrance was cringeworthy. And I, at this point, like felt bad for the girls. I really hope Heather doesn't stay. I find her super irrelevant. She's not even Matt's type.
He has, like, he said it, like he has relationships with some of the other girls that have progressed to a certain point. Like, he's had opportunities to meet Heather since like over the past like year or two.
We just talked about her pulling up and asking the security guard, like, hi, can I please speak to Chris Harrison?
Yeah, the fake security cam footage from like the little...
like, I'm going to try that and see if he comes out, Like,
you guys, if they actually end up in Jasper and you want to take a road trip, give it a try.
We're testing the theory.
It's clearly easy
to test it out
onto production.
She'll definitely go home and...
Not before the girls rip into her and bully her like no one's ever seen before.
Like, as if this season needs more bullying. Like as if
they are the meanest group of girls this show, this franchise, the meanest group of people this franchise has ever seen.
I agree.
I am really curious to see how Women Tell All plays out. That'll be
vicious.
A bloodbath.
It's gonna be really bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
fun to watch though.
Other than that, I think that's how the episode ended, right? Like
yeah,
Heather and Matt talking and us having to wait another week for it. So we will see what happens. And another, Mean Girls episode in the books, ladies.
And we are bringing back our segment from last week. We got rave reviews for what we're reading, what we're watching. It's been a pretty busy week for me. Let's start with someone else. Lianna, how's your reading watching week going?
My reading watching week is going really well. I'm still watching Sex in the City. In terms of what I'm reading, I read a really cute book this weekend. I actually have like a few pages left. It's called Until It Fades by K.A. Tucker. I'm loving it. It's like exactly what I needed. But I'm also rereading my favorite book that I spoke about a few weeks ago called The Idea of You by Robin Lee. It's my favorite book of all time. Everyone needs to read it.
That's what I'm currently reading.
You're reading it?
Cut you off. Yes, I am currently reading it.
Love. Sam's reading it?
I'm like kind of reading it. Like I've been reading it for a really long time, but then like I got into Adina's book club and like just a lot of other like
a lot of things
needed my attention. And as you know, like I'm a new reader, so I have to take things slowly. But yes, I will be finishing The Idea of You at some point.
It's so good. Like it wasn't on Chapters for a while because it was sold out, but I think it's back and it's back on Amazon now. I literally just got a hard copy of it because I was like sick and tired of looking at it on my Kindle. I wanted a physical copy. It's so good. So I'm reading that. And in terms of other things that like I'm watching, we'll talk about Firefly Lane because I think we all watched it and we all read the book. So that's like a fun thing we could talk about all together. But I'm kind of looking for my next show. I'm thinking it might be Flack on Amazon.
I was going to watch that.
Yeah.
I think it's up your alley, Lianna. It's about like publicists, no?
Yeah, it is. So I think that might be my next show while I watch Sex and the City is like my in-betweener show, but that's what I'm doing.
Alanna?
So I too watched Firefly Lane this weekend after Adina threw a very great book club for us. We read the book and we recapped it and then I watched the show. And then I decided to start Gilmore Girls per Adina's. She didn't really suggest it, but she made it seem like, you know what? It was time for a rewatch. She was doing it. It felt like the right time. So currently watching season 1 of Gilmore Girls and reading The Idea of You when I'm not watching.
Amazing. Sam, what about you?
I also, like everyone else, watched Firefly Lane. I have a lot of thoughts about it, so I guess we'll just like maybe quickly talk about it after this.
Yeah.
But I am reading still Girl with No Job, like slowly reading it. Like I know, don't look at me like that.
I haven't read it yet.
You have those like background shows, like how you're saying Sex in the City is like kind of a background show. Like for me, like reading Girl with No Job is kind of like a background like show. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a main focus. I will be needing to finish The Idea of You. And then Adina just announced her next book club book called The Comeback. So I'm going to need my full month to read that, as you all know. So I'm excited about that. And honestly, since we last spoke, I actually have just watched Firefly Lane. I haven't watched any other TV really. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks. So
what about you, Adina?
I just finished an amazing eye-opening book called The Boys Club. I really recommend it. I started to read the Bridgerton books, but I was reading book 1 and I was like, hey, this is exactly the same as the show. So I might jump right into book 2.
Interesting.
Because I really don't like reading things that I've already watched. In terms of shows, as we know, I'm watching Gilmore Girls, but I saw a preview for a show with Joey King, and I thought it was a new show, but I just Googled it. And it's not a new show, called Radium Girls. It's about like this whole situation that happened a long, long time ago with radium affecting like their bones and stuff. Anyways, it's from the 1920s. It's based on a story that happened in the 1920s, and it really captivated my attention when I saw a little preview for it. So I'm going to watch that eventually. But what's really important to note is that we chose our new book club book, as Samantha said, The Comeback. Everyone is welcome to join. So if anyone wants to join, like, please feel free. It's really not exclusive, it's inclusive.
We love.
Yeah, we love it. So yeah, speaking of book club, our last week's book club was Firefly Lane, as we mentioned last week, and Netflix recently came out with a TV show version of it. I have a lot to say about it. I'll just keep it short because I feel like you guys all have stuff to say about it also. I know the book like wasn't maybe the most favorite by everybody from our book club, but I personally liked it, and I liked the book way better than I liked the show. I found that the comparisons like were not even close to being the same. Like in the book, Tully is like way more selfish and Kate is way more self-conscious. And in the show, Kate is like, doesn't really come off that way at all. And Tully comes off as like way more loving towards Kate and like caring towards Kate. Like I know in general, she's not like the best, but in the book, I just find she's way more selfish. And
no, 100%.
I think had I only watched the show, I still would have been like, this is kind of a weird show. But after reading the book and watching the show, I was like, no, I don't like this at all. And Katherine Heigl is not for me.
I had like a very different reaction because I did not love the book and I didn't love the show, but I definitely preferred the show to the book. Like I was able to watch the show and I like wanted to keep watching, whereas the book to me felt like a chore. But besides all of the discrepancies between the book and the show and like how different plot lines were, I could not get over the production value. Like the makeup that they made Tully's mom wear when she was supposed to be old looked like horrible Halloween makeup. Like
it was horrible.
It was horrific. I just found that like the production value of it was really crap. And I didn't like Katherine Heigl with her brown hair. And I didn't like the way that they made them all look throughout the different stages. Like I just found that part of it sucky.
It was like cheap. It was cheap. It
so
low budget.
Did anyone notice the scene when they're in the restaurant, they're having dinner and Tully has what looks like a Birkin bag, but it's turned around. And then we see her carrying it again in another scene, but turned around like it was a fake Birkin.
Yeah, duh.
Like, yes, the production value from this show
wasn't that good. But anyway,
I do think I thought it was interesting that they took a lot of like the big scenes and kind of reworked them, right? Like in the end, we see like Johnny, like he's like in war or whatever, and like he gets shot, but like that happens way earlier on in the book. And I thought that was interesting how they're like reworking everything, and how they like Tully's mom is like an actual like character and a part in her life now.
Yeah, in the book she's really not in it. Like she's only in it for like spurts. She's not in it as much as she is in
because I think what they had to do for the show was like they needed to drag it out because they obviously wanted to be more than one season. So like where the show ended off is really 50% through the book, but instead to get to that 50%, they just like made very big storylines for every character to take up the show. So like they made all these C-list characters. They made Tully's mom into a bigger thing. Like they just needed to add more like dimension basically to the show, to the book, to make it into a TV show. But
as you could tell by my facial expressions, I did not watch the show, which is kind of surprising since
I thought you watched it.
I set up the book club to come like to be the day after the show comes out, and it's just I really don't like when shows are so different, and like I just don't understand why like people buy the rights for shows and movies if like they're gonna obliterate them and change them. So
fair.
The book was not my favorite, but I did like it, and I just like I don't need to watch a show. I don't need to watch the show.
I think this show's getting renewed.
Yeah,
it got the worst
reviews. I think it's going to get renewed for a second season. My thing is I thought Katherine Heigl was a great casting for Tully because people don't like Katherine Heigl, and she's like a tough person to work with, and she's arrogant and whatever, and like all the bad things that Hollywood says about her. And like Tully was that character. She's unlikable. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, but in the show, I didn't find her that unlikable.
I know, so that was like weird.
That was a problem. If she was going to be exactly the way she was as Tully in the book, then I understand what you're saying. But like I said before, I find the character in the show wasn't that unlikable. Like, yeah, she was a bit annoying and like whatever, but I don't know. I didn't find her that unlikable. So anyway, Adina, I don't think you need to watch it. I think
appreciate that.
Leave it as is and whatever.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of Rehashing the Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Rehashing Podcast. If you have comments, feedback, suggestions, just want to say hi, slide into those DMs. Tell your friends, your parents, your neighbors, your cousins, everyone. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and we'll see you next week, or you'll hear us next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.